Welcome back. This video is going to be about Murakami's second novel, Pinball 1973. The 1973 is part of the title of the novel. It's not the date of the publication. The novel was published in 1980, a year after Murakami's first novel, Hear the Wind Sing, which I talked about in the previous video. Now, there's a lot to talk about. This is a complex work, and I've selected 2 or 3 things which are, to me, the highlights of my experience, my thinking, and most of the fruits of reading Murakami, I think, come after the fact, after you're done reading the work. So I'll mention a few things, and you can let me know if you have other thoughts or other questions. I'm going to begin with his reflections on the game Pinball, which is central. It's a central symbol in this novel, little novel. I'm reading from this copy, page 23. So what kind of game is pinball? Or how does Murakami think about it? Quote, "Almost nothing can be gained from pinball. The only payoff is a numerical substitution for pride. The losses, however, are considerable. You could probably erect bronze statues of every American president with the coins you will lose, while your lost time is irreplaceable. When you're standing before the machine engaged in your solitary act of consumption, another guy is plowing through Proust, while still another guy is doing some heavy petting with his girlfriend while watching True Grit at the local drive-in. They are the ones who may wind up becoming groundbreaking novelists or happily married men. No, pinball leads nowhere. The only result is a glowing replay light. Replay, replay, replay. It makes you think the whole aim of the game is to achieve a form of eternity. We know very little about eternity, although we can infer its existence. The goal of pinball is self-transformation, not self-expression. It involves not the expansion of the ego, but its diminution, not analysis, but all-embracing acceptance. If it's self-expression, ego expansion, or analysis you're after, the tilt light will exact its unsparing revenge." So here we get the idea that pinball has something to do with self-transformation, and that self-transformation happens through this eternal repetition of the same. You get stuck in, or you enter, maybe not stuck, you enter into this cycle of repetition. And what does that repetition symbolizes for Murakami and for us, the readers? It could symbolize grief, the repetition that comes after a loss, grief, where you enter into the cycle of repetition. You keep ruminating over certain ideas, certain memories, some experiences, and you can't get out of it. It doesn't yield any results. It doesn't expand your ego, but it does transform you, and it does transform your sense of time. When you're grieving over something, you forget that there's progress, there's possible progress in the world, and still you just go back and forth in your own mind. Transform yourself to someone, a kind of mind that lives with the illusion of a kind of eternity. Okay, so something that comes out of that, or an association, an idea associated with pinball, is translation. Something comes in, you stand in front of the machine, you begin engaging with the game, participating in the game, entering into the game, and then a translation begins. So translation is important in this novel and in Murakami's method in general. We read that the narrator, the person at the center of this novel, takes up the job of translating. With a partner, he opens up a little company and offers translation work. This translation, in my mind, is also a symbol. Now, you might say, some of you are familiar with Murakami's personal life, you might say, don't be naive. He is just drawing from his personal experience. He was a translator He did some translation work. So don't take everything so simple-mindedly and naively and with your wishful thinking. Don't think everything is a symbol. No, I have reasons to believe that, even though Murakami in his real life was at some point a translator, did some translation work. But the act of translation, the concept of translation is significant here, and symbolically significant. Translation is a movement from some kind of original text to an outcome. But psychologically, translation is an important concept because it might it might allow us to talk about expression of something that was originally inexpressible. So think about, for example, something that you want to express, you need to express, but you cannot express because you don't have the language for its expression yet. So you try to grasp around and find other concepts, find other types of language in order to borrow that language to do what? To express something that is very difficult to express. So that, at a very abstract level, we can talk about that as translation. And that applies to Murakami's general method. Murakami is not a writer who even tries to write in a relatively direct way about the subject matter. What he does is he translates. Remember Freud. Freud had the distinction between the latent level of a dream, what the dream is actually about, what is actually happening in the dream, the reality of the dream, the engine of the dream, what is causing what we see, but that is not visible to us. That's not what we actually see and remember. That's a latent, the hidden layer of the dream. And then Freud said there's the manifest level of the dream, the manifest content of the dream, the parts of the dream that we experience and then we remember after we wake up. But what we see is not the meaning of the dream. What is significant about a dream is not the experience, because the experience, the manifest level, is a translation of the hidden layer, the hidden content. In the same way for Murakami, what we get is the manifest level. And the significance of the manifest level is because presumably there is a latent layer, the latent material that has given rise to his writing. So his writing in general is a kind of translation from what is difficult to express to what he can express or what he's willing to talk about. All right, this brings me to my next point. If you don't adopt my analytic interpretive lens, there are certain things in Pinball that are very difficult to make sense of. One of these observations is the mentioning of the German philosopher Immanuel Kant. The narrator happens to have a copy of Kant's Critique of Pure Reason on his bedside and regularly returns to that work, to the copy of the book in his bedroom, and reads it to relax. Reads Immanuel Kant's Critique of Pure Reason to relax and be comforted. So that's Kant is not really assimilated into the rest of the novel. There's no connection between Kant and any other event, any other idea, on the surface at least. But there is a connection, and there is a reason why I think the narrator can get comfort from reading Critique of Pure Reason. In a very cursory, if you remember Kant's Critique of Pure Reason, a very cursory, very superficial level, one of the things that we remember from it is, again, another distinction between what is latent, what is hidden, and what is experienced. For Kant, that distinction is between noumena, or the things in themselves, reality in itself, the real, things that we don't experience because we don't have access to them. Kant called that level of that aspect of the world noumena. We don't experience that, and he distinguished it from the phenomenal reality, the things that we experience, objects, and our access to the phenomenal world is mediated through our mind, through our cognitive capacities. And we apply what we experience is what we experience, namely the phenomenal world, is already the result of a number of categories that our mind brings in to construct that phenomenal world. So why the narrator could be comforted at all is because adopting Kant's perspective, we would say the noumenal world is beyond our reach. All we get is the translation. And you can be content with your translation because there is no originary text. There is no original text to go back to and check the accuracy of your translation. The noumenal world is beyond our reach, and you don't have to worry about whether or not your translation is accurate, whether or not it is faithful, whether or not it is the best. So be happy with it. Be content with what you have translated, Mr. Murakami. Be happy with it, because there's no way of checking. That's why he's comforted by that. He writes a work like Pinball, doing a translation of noumena, creating, adding to the phenomenal reality. I'll say one last thing. This thing is about, arguably the elephant in the room, the elephant in the novel, which is the twins. Who are the twins, or what are the twins? The twins are, the twin sisters who enter into his apartment. He finds them in his apartment, and they don't have any material belongings. They don't even have names, and they represent something. And what they represent is quite unclear. But the very fact that they are twins, that there's two of them, maybe we can talk a little bit about that. We can return to what they represent later on. In a later novel by Murakami, this theme becomes much more prominent and much more visible, this theme of fragmentation of reality. And just because you see two things, it doesn't mean that the thing in reality is true. It could mean, alternatively, that your mind is fragmented. So the later novel where this becomes much more prominent, much more salient, much more obvious, is a longer novel named Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. In that novel, one of the narrator, one of the characters, is going through the process of mental fragmentation. So parts of his mind are being separated from the other parts. So as a result of that, excuse me, if your mind is divided into two, you might look at a table, or you might look at a cat, and you might see two cats. And seeing two cats or seeing two tables doesn't mean that there are two cats in front of you in reality. In the world right now, there are two cats. It could mean, alternatively, that your mind is divided, and one part of your mind has access to the cat, and another part of your mind has independently has access to the same cat. And what you end up experiencing, because of the division in your own psyche, what you end up experiencing is two things rather than one. So that is a possible explanation for why he is with the twins, why he sees the twins as opposed to one. Right before the twins appear, he says that my state of mind could be described as out of whack, out of touch, and out of touch, fragmented. That's why that if you go back to this novel and read the appearance of the twins, his interactions with the twins, it will make a different kind of sense. What I can do in a next video, because I'm thinking about this might be a problem for some of the listeners. I can talk in general about the significance of this kind of reading, this kind of interpretation, analysis. Why is it useful? What is my aim when I do this kind of thing with a novel? If you're interested in hearing that, let me know. Let me know if you're interested in hearing why I'm interested in doing this kind of analysis. Do I want to replace the novel with something else? Do I want to do my own translation and say, no, Murakami, you don't really mean this. What you mean is that your mind is fragmented. Is that what I want to do? Is that what I'm interested in? The answer is no. The short answer is no. But if you'd like me to talk a little bit more about this topic of interpretation and analysis, let me know. Otherwise, I'll talk about another book possibly in the next video. And at some point in the future, I will reach the third novel, which I've already read, but I'll organize my thoughts and discuss the novel after Wind and Pinball, which was called in English, A Wild Sheep Chase. All right. Thank you for listening, and until then.